The next of our shape we want to consider is circle. We all know circle. A circle is just like a spherical, or we call it a ball. Sometimes when we are, or let me say when we are children, we are very small. It is not a ball, but it is a circle. I call it circle, or it is called circle. So this circle, there are a lot of things we need to know about this circle. A circle has, as we have part of the body, likewise it is in a circle. We have parts in a circle. Let me first begin with, when we divide, if we draw a circle, there is always a center. The center will have a dot. That is, for every circle, you will see a dot, meaning the center of the circle. The dot means the center of the circle. And in mathematics, it is usually represented by O. It is usually represented by O. Let me first, if you look at this layer, starting from here, roundabout, down to this place, this line, up this line is called, here is called the circumference. That is part number one. The circle here, this line, we call it circumference. But if a line now is drawn from this circumference and passes through this center to the other circumference, or you can draw it from here, pass through here to this place, or you can draw it from here, pass through here to this place. Let me draw it. A straight line that passes through, that comes from the circumference and passes through the center of the circle to the other opposite circumference, we call the line diameter. The reason is because it divides the circle into two equal halves. It divides the circle into two equal halves, and if you look at it, let me cut the circle into two equal halves. And if the circle is cut into two equal halves, the circle is half. We call it semi-circle. It is called semi-circle. That is half of a circle. And when this line is drawn, but it doesn't pass through the center of the circle. For example, you draw another line from the circumference, but it doesn't pass through the center of the circle. If it doesn't pass through the center of the circle, let me draw it this way to this place. Let's assume it's a straight line. Let's assume it's a straight line, because my hand is not that straight. The line is called the chord. It is called a chord. The line is called a chord. So if a line is drawn from the circumference, from one circumference to the other circumference, without passing through the center of the circle, it is a straight line, not a rough line like my own. A straight line that passes or cuts across the circumference, we call the line chord. And when it is a chord, and the line, the part of the circumference will be cut off. That is, you have the line is cut from here like this to this place to this place. Let me draw it out. This is a small part of the circumference. So this small part of the circumference that is being cut by a line chord, the line chord, it is called another name, which is called arc. And this arc, if you look at the circle, we have a small part of the circumference here, and the other big one. So we can call this one a minor arc or a small arc, and we call this one the major arc or the big arc. But when the line is there, for instance on the chord, and this is the chord, this small part is just like when you want to sip your orange. It's as if you want to sip your orange and you cut the edge or the top layer of the orange. It will give you a small portion like this, which is telling you that there is another one which is bigger. It's telling you that you have the small portion and the big portion. So here we call this one is segment. This is a big segment, and this one is the large segment. So here we call this one the major segment, and we call this one the minor segment. We call this one the major segment, and here this one is the minor segment. But let's go back to our first drawing, initial drawing, which is here. I was talking about diameter. When we cut the diameter into two, that is, we cut it into two. Here, this is one part. This is one part. This is another part. This part from the center of the circle to the circumference, we call it radius. It can be from anywhere of the circumference. Any line that comes from the center of the circle and touches the circumference is called the radius, irrespective of the position of the line. It could be standing upright, it could be slant like this. So far it comes from the center of the circle and touches the circumference, it is called the radius. So if you look at it, we have half of our diameter to be the radius. So half of diameter is radius. If you divide diameter into two, that is when you get the radius. We have the radius here. Even if your line comes like this, passes through this center of the circle and cuts this circle into two equal halves, this is your diameter. I mean, if the line comes straight to this point, it is your diameter. And the half of it is called the radius. Half of it is called the radius. I can only draw, let me cite example here. From here to this place is your radius. If you like, some people can draw it this way. It's also a radius. We call it radius. But that is why I said radius is when we divide diameter into two. That is, you can say when we divide it into two is called the radius. But what about radius? How many radius will make a diameter? So if we join how many together now, another radius will go like this. This is another radius. That is, radius plus radius will give us diameter. Which means that our two radius will give us diameter. Two radius will give diameter.